Hi, welcome to the Beacon Hill Report with Senator Joan Lovely. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. Senator, it's great to have you in the studio here.
Thank you, Walt. Great to be back.
On a very cold day, probably the coldest day we've had.
It's chilly out there.
So far, it is very chilly out there. Thank you for coming in. We're going to talk about some issues, I think, that proliferate from the federal government on down to your local level constituency, and we'll see where what your constituents can expect and what you're doing about a lot of these issues.
Sure thing.
Now we know that the federal administration has done a lot of cutting on agencies, budgets, even shutting down certain agencies, USAID, et cetera. And I want to talk specifically about some things that affect us locally. SNAP benefits is one,
Yep.
the Medicare, Medicaid issue, and there's something called safety net hospitals, and maybe you can explain what they are and how they, and then we can talk about how in certain cases can the state make up for these losses in funding. So let's. I just heard the other day that the SNAP benefit things to be on. It seems to be on again, off again, on again, off again. So tell us what this current situation is, and can people expect to get their federal SNAP benefits, or is the state stepping in, Joan?
So yes, people are now receiving their SNAP benefits. There was, because of the government shutdown, you will recall that there was the threats to SNAP benefits, and all of the food pantries in our district and really across the state and the country really stepped up to make sure that people had access to food. I have to give a special shout out to Rep. Bowen here in Beverly. She did a great job really organizing in a very quick fashion all of the area resources. I was a part of that effort, but she led it and she did a great job.
Yes, that was a great.
We want to make sure that people are fed, that they have access to food.
Yeah.
So SNAP benefits are back in place, but still people are feeling the stress of making sure they know where their benefits, their food is coming from.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll give an example. The Greater Boston Food Bank, they're the ones that supply food to all of our local area pantries, including Bootstraps right here in Beverly.
Right, yeah.
And they are opening a satellite location in Salem on Highland Avenue under the Salem Pantry. The Salem Pantry will oversee it. It's a huge warehouse with 6 bays, so that all of these pantries go in individually. Small trucks, larger trucks go into the Greater Boston Food Bank in Boston and to pick up their food. Now all of that food will come in big trucks to this one location right here in Salem, and the food pantries, all the way up to northern Essex County will come to Salem and get their food. So for Bootstraps, it's just over the bridge, and they'll be able to have access. So really important that our SNAP benefits are available and that people have access to our pantry food as well.
Yeah. So SNAP benefits are in from the federal level as far as we know today. Okay.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
There are some folks that are at risk, though, of losing SNAP benefits under the triple B bill.
Yeah,
the 3B bill.
We'll get to that. Yeah,
we'll get to that.
So
there is some risk of some folks, about 108,000 people across Massachusetts, losing access to their SNAP benefits.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there's conflicting stories about what is really in the BBB, so-called Big Beautiful Bill,
Right.
And maybe you can discuss, what should people expect as far as health insurance costs, and what about the cutbacks in Medicare, Medicaid? What can you tell us about that, and what is the state prepared to do?
Right. So we're not seeing a lot under Medicare, but we are seeing a really big impact that's coming under Medicaid. So Medicaid is for our poorest people. But you know what? Under Medicaid, 80% of recipients of Medicaid are seniors and children.
Wow.
80%. So we want to make sure that those benefits are available to these people. And, so there's going to be a recertification. Are you really eligible for your Medicaid?
Yeah.
And can you work? Can you work up to 20 hours a week or volunteer 20 hours a week? So we're taking a look at that. There, of our state operating budget, which is about $61 billion, over $16 billion comes from the federal government. So though that funding, we're looking to lose about $3.7 billion of that.
That's
That
almost
is-
25%.
That is an enormous hit.
Yeah.
So we are taking a look at that and who will be falling off of Medicaid.
Yeah.
And you know that people are, from the healthcare standpoint, they still need their health care. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to hospitals to get
Yeah.
their health care.
Yeah.
And that's expensive to deliver health care. When you go into an emergency room, it's for an emergency.
Yeah.
But you may need, you might need it for some other reason because you're not insured any longer.
Now, Joan, who's going to be doing this recertification? Are they going to zero base everybody that's getting aid now, and then what? The feds are doing it, or the state is going to
Well,
do it?
the federal government, yes, under the bill has has identified what the criteria are going to be, and yes, it's the states have to follow it, right? Because it is Medicaid, it is funded by the federal government. So it remains to be seen, but we're looking at quite a few people. 108,000 people are at risk of losing SNAP, and we have over 300,000 Medicaid recipients who are at risk due to these new eligibility and work rules. So we're taking a look at that. We're looking at over 330,000 residents who are going to pay higher monthly premiums.
Yeah.
For their insurance.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. No, there's, as I said, there's been conflicting stories about how much it's going to go up. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? From where you sit, tell us what people are to expect, and what kind of pressure will this put on Mass Health?
So it's putting an enormous pressure on the state budget. We're actually going into, as we speak, the governor's office, the administration, is putting together their FY27 budget, which starts not until next July 1st.
Right.
But it's a 6-month lead-in for a budget. So the governor's office is putting that together now. We actually, in 2 weeks, it's every December, we have what they call a consensus revenue hearing at the State House. And it's economists, budget analysts, experts who come in and report to the legislature and the governor about what to anticipate for tax revenues. Now, we're going to, because of the BBB bill, we're going to see about $660 million over and above this $3+ billion that we're going to lose of direct tax revenue, because the way we collect it's a corporate tax. The way we collect this tax is coupled with the federal tax. Federal tax is going away. So now that it's going to be about a $660 million hit, in addition to over and above. So we're looking at billions of dollars of loss of revenue coming into the state to provide these services. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And now tell us, I've read a little bit about safety net hospitals, and I have to be honest, I'm not sure that I know what that is. I didn't hear that, I haven't heard that term before. Tell us about safety net hospitals and how they figure into this.
Well, think of Salem Hospital. Salem Hospital is a safety net hospital. Salem Hospital always operates in the red. It doesn't make money.
Really?
Because of the patients that it serves. Mostly patients that are on Medicaid, on Medicare. Lynn doesn't have a hospital anymore.
That's right.
So then all of the Lynn residents come to Salem Hospital for their hospital care.
Yeah.
And even though it's a part of a larger hospital system, Mass General Brigham, it still is a safety net hospital where people will go to receive their care, but they may be uninsured, underinsured, on Medicaid, which now we see is taking a pretty big hit. So we're going to see these hospitals really, really start to strain. And actually, we just back in October, we allocated $122 million towards our safety net hospitals, Salem Hospital being one of them.
So that's where the shortfall comes in from the state? The feds don't provide any of that money?
No.
They're actually taking it away?
They're taking it away, exactly.
Yeah.
They're taking it away. And you know what? This also includes our community health centers. Salem has a community health center. Peabody, and that's where people will go get their primary care, again, at a reduced rate based on their ability to pay or based on what type of insurance they have, including Medicaid. But they are extremely tight margins. And so we want to keep our community health centers open so people go there and don't go to the hospital when they don't need hospital level care. It's a balance.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that people, again, have access.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about another issue that's a big issue. Although at the federal level they deny that this is a big issue, and that's climate change. Mm-hmm. And recently the state issued what I want to get it right, a coastal resiliency report mm-hmm. that talks about the threats due to climate change. And I know that the governor has proposed a $3 billion fund to harden infrastructure. And
yeah.
you represent Salem, Beverly, Danvers, and Peabody, right?
Right.
They all have coasts,
they
right?
Do.
They all have coastal
yeah,
areas.
Access
so
to
they are right in the
they are
right in the middle of all that stuff. So tell us about some of the state's plans and what folks should expect to see the state do in terms of this hardening of infrastructure.
So the governor filed this bill back in June, the Mass Ready Act, so that we are ready for these climate change that's bringing different types of challenges. Again, we're a coastal community, so we see it more often at that level. So we need to have flood control. We need to have better marine infrastructure. And we need to be able to rebuild dams. We do have dams across Massachusetts as well. So $200 million is going towards a resilient coastal plan so that we can see seawalls rebuilt, marine infrastructure where that needs to be rebuilt. We are a marine industrial. Salem has a big port that
right.
comes in and out. We've got a power plant over there. We want to have offshore wind there someday. That actually was rolling along pretty quickly until the Trump administration sat, and they're going in another direction and not supporting renewables and offshore wind. But we want to make sure that we streamline the permitting process. Sometimes permitting can take several years to happen, and sometimes people don't have years for that to happen.
Yeah.
There's a neighbor, I keep going back to Salem, but there's a neighborhood down in Salem Willows, and the seawall is crumbling, and that water comes over, and it floods all the homes in the whole entire area. Beverly is at risk too.
Yeah.
Beverly has a very large coastline. Look at Lynch Park was underwater just last year.
I was going to mention that we had a consultant come in one time, and they were talking about certain events, one in 5-year event, one in 10-year event, and they put these stakes up right in front of the clamshell, right in the bandshell in Lynch Park, and it showed that in a typical storm, which we have many during the year, that the area in front of the bandshell would be under 3 feet of water.
3 feet. Wow.
Yeah. And
right.
they actually had there. It's and these are not the kinds of things that you can take a switch on when it happens. Oh, you switch it on and off. These are things that have to be taken care of early on.
They do. They do. And the carriage house. Look how close the carriage house is. It's right on the water. It's got the concession stands open in the summer down below, all at risk.
Yeah. All
at risk. So we're either building walls higher or we're raising structures. That's a very historic structure. So we want to make sure that we save these treasures.
Yeah. And the whole area is really, when you take a look at I think it's the Danvers River, or it's you have different streams coming into it, but we're Peabody, Danvers, and it comes out into Beverly, Salem.
Right.
I mean, that is low-lying area. That's not,
it is low-lying area, and there have been studies conducted to, at the 2040 mark, the 2050, 75, into the next century. And, if we don't start to make some meaningful change, Salem Willows will be underwater. It'll be gone.
So this bill, is still being discussed? Is it in committee, or what's happening with the bill?
It's still in committee. It has received its public hearing. All money bills originate in the House. So the House actually is looking at the bill, and once the House puts its thoughts into the bill, it'll come over to the Senate. So it's a very important bill, one that we're working hard to move forward, because again, we need this $3 million in funding. And when I talk about the funding, this is bond. We will bond for these types of repairs. It's not like we have $3 billion sitting in a separate account somewhere for this. You have to bond. We have the bond capacity, but we always have to be careful that we do have the bond capacity to be able to make these upgrades and changes that we need.
Yeah. Now, there's another aspect that I read about regarding the coastal resiliency, that there was, I don't know if it's a proposal or a bill or just some people talking about it, about the state buying at-risk real estate. You know, these are coastal communities where, you know, every couple of years they have to rebuild the homes and, you know, time and time again. So these are really, really at-risk properties. I don't know what compels people to rebuild year after year. But is the state prepared to buy out people whose properties are? Can you explain that?
It's you know, always part of the discussion. You know, when I think about this in our state, I think about Plum Island.
Yeah.
A lot of those properties have been. The land is receding. You know, the coast is receding, the ocean is taking over, and you're either putting them up higher on stilts, you're moving them back, or you're taking them down. So that's always a part of the discussion. You know, is that the way? You know, so that people don't lose their investment, but it's hard to build where you know. I mean, years ago you had plenty of frontage. Now you don't. Wasn't there a lighthouse that they moved, I think, down the Cape?
They did. No, actually, there's one on Plum Island up there where they actually moved it 200 yards in. Yeah, we did a show on that one time. They actually moved that lighthouse because where it was originally standing now is underwater.
It's underwater, right? And we're going to see more of that. You know, it's just the way. Our coastlines are changing as a result of climate change. And I just heard on the radio yesterday that the Northeast in the whole country is heating up the fastest. We are 4 degrees centigrade hotter than we were a decade ago. And if you look at the Gulf of Maine has really become, you know, because it's contained mostly, it is really warming up very, very quickly. And you know what's happening? Lobsters are leaving, and they're heading to Canada. It's too warm for them. Yeah. The marine life along both coasts, as the warmer water comes farther north, you're finding wonders. You're finding plants and organisms that were farther down south are migrating north. And at the same token, you have marine life that needs colder temperatures, can't live in and so they're dying off. So it's now there's another big issue that, of course, the lack of housing and the affordability of housing. That's a huge issue, really all around the country. But I understand that there's an effort underway to put a measure on next year's ballot that would overturn Massachusetts' rent control ban. So tell us what that would do, and what are the pros and cons, and what chance does that have? Well, it's a ballot question.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a very hot topic. It's really on people's minds. If you're a renter, especially. I just was actually in housing court this morning. I'm an attorney. I don't practice, but a friend needed some advice. So I went to housing court this morning, familiar with the court. And the courtroom was packed, packed with tenants and landlords. Tenants who were saying, "I'm paying $3,000 a month for my 2-bedroom. I can't afford it." And they're really, so it's a really. I can see why. I understand why people are looking at how do we cap rents so they're only rising at 5% per year.
Right.
And because we have seen some rents that have been exorbitant. That people are forced to move.
They just price people out.
Yeah, prices people out, exactly. So ballot question, the voters are going to decide on it. If it does make the ballot, you know, it has to have so many signatures to make the ballot, be certified by the Attorney General.
Tell us about that. So what is the process of getting a...
I believe it's 10,000 signatures, but then the Attorney General will take a look at that, and then if it satisfies that first leg, it goes on, and then they need more signatures. And there's a lot of times that professional firms will take this on to gather signatures. It'll be volunteers too, standing in front of the supermarket, but a lot of times it's a professionally run to make sure that you get those enough signatures and it makes the ballot, and then voters decide.
Yeah, I just from memory, I may be wrong on this, but I remember reading an article about this, and I think that they showed a picture that they had something like 140,000. I may be wrong on that, but they had an enormous amount of signatures, which shows you the magnitude of the problem. And when you have people that have we talked about the insurance costs. Food is food, and housing, insurance costs. It's people are making 40, 50,000. I used to think $50,000 a year was wow. That's but now
not anymore.
Not
anymore. Especially the cost of food is very expensive now, and I don't know I'm not sure how to fix that. I know some of it's tariff related, but people need to eat. So we need to make sure that people have, again, and that's why we're seeing our food pantries are so much busier. I wanted to talk quickly about the exemptions for the rent cap. There are some exemptions as well for owner-occupied buildings with 4 or fewer units. Newly constructed units for the first 10 years would be exempt. Most public housing, which is already affordable. Housing and educational and religious institutions. So there's a few exemptions there that really already are doing, they're already providing affordable housing. But wanted to just make sure that your viewers saw that too.
Thank you for that, Joan. Yeah. One of the issues that now is front and center under the new administration is the whole issue of getting rid of immigrants or illegal aliens and sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and the Department of Homeland Security, I think, has put Massachusetts and other states kind of on notice that we're looking at you. You have to cooperate. I mean, you're a lawyer. What legally, how much is a state required to do? And have you seen roundups here in this area? Well, we have, because there was that student in Somerville, which is not part of your district, but it's right here in the area. So comment on that for us, will you please?
So Massachusetts is not a sanctuary state. We have never taken that vote to become a sanctuary state. There are cities that are sanctuary cities. Salem is one.
Boston's one.
Yeah, Boston is one.
Yeah.
But as a state, we are not. But we are, though, and this is where the confusion can come up, is under Governor Dukakis, there was a vote. He put a bill before the legislature, and we're talking the 1980s. Yeah. That Massachusetts would be a right to shelter state, and what that means is it's for families. So if you're a family with a minor child, there has to be a minor child in the mix there, you're entitled to housing if you come into this state. That was never an issue. We serviced probably about 500 families a year through that, and subsidized housing. Now, to be eligible, you do have to have documentation. Okay, so if you're an undocumented immigrant, any housing, you need to have documentation. But because of our federal immigration laws, a matter of fact, just 2 years ago, we saw a big influx of immigrants come who were seeking asylum. They were in the country legally, seeking asylum, and many of them ended up in the Northeast, New York, Massachusetts, and so Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll led that effort to stabilize these families. Again, you have to be a family. It has to be a minor child or children. And then people needed working papers, so worked on getting working papers. I'm going to give you an example. I use this fairly often. Again, in Salem State had an empty dorm. So they put immigrants. They had how many dorm rooms? 90 dorm rooms. And so they put about 300 people. These are families with children in this dorm for about 14, 15 months. They all got working papers. They all wanted to assimilate. and they learned English, if their English was their second language or there wasn't even a language. Many of them went to work at Salem Hospital.
Wow.
In the kitchen, in the laundry, transport, good, solid jobs. Salem Hospital lost a lot of its census of workers during COVID.
Yeah.
People retired or they just left the medical system, burnout. And Salem Hospital was able to bring a full census of workers into the hospital.
Yeah. Now, I know that, practically speaking, that the housing, the right to shelter, that did put quite, as you mentioned, the number of people seeking that had gone up, I don't know how tenfold.
Way
I'm
more.
not sure.
Way more than the system could handle.
Yeah, and I know that the governor then started cutting off at certain points because we couldn't. And
now there's a cap.
Yeah, and there was also criticism that they were putting them up into hotel rooms and
very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
I've never been in support of, when I first ran for this office and was elected, we had a lot of homeless in motels and hotels across Massachusetts. Incredibly expensive, terrible for families. Can you imagine you're in one hotel room, maybe you're a family of like 2 parents and 2 kids or 1 parent and 3 kids. You're washing your dishes in the bathtub. You've got a hot plate or a microwave.
Yeah.
It's terrible for families, terrible for kids. And we moved away from that under Governor Baker. He actually did away with that program. But then, here we came into the crisis of just 2 years ago of more immigrants. So Governor Healy put a cap on that. And I will tell you today, we have more homeless Massachusetts family in our shelter system than immigrants. That's how bad the cost of housing is.
Wow.
So it goes hand in hand. And we're working towards, we just did a $5 billion housing bond bill last session to, again, create more housing starts. It's not inexpensive to build housing now, so there's the cost of building it. Government doesn't build housing, and the federal government shut off Section 8 vouchers in the last 15 years. So there's no new vouchers that circulate for Section 8. So people have, it's strained, the system's strained.
Yeah. Now, we only have a very short amount of time, but I want to touch on one thing.
Sure.
The administration has gotten into this war with higher education institutions, et cetera, and Harvard was at the forefront here. It was very public. And now, and they cut off, the administration cut off how many international students you could bring in and how many would not be able to come back to. And Massachusetts, we pride ourselves on being a center, of higher institutions. People from all over the world want to come to the colleges here, MIT, Harvard, et cetera.
Right.
So how does that damage our reputation as being that center of learning in academia?
Well, it's been pretty difficult. Harvard, as who has been the poster child of the focus of the administration to really curtail on research dollars. The whole system. Harvard is affiliated with Mass General Brigham. Mass General Brigham is a research hospital where some of the best research, cancer research, new medications allow people to live better and longer lives with these devastating diseases. And that was just gutted. You know what what that's doing is that's sending those research dollars, or researchers, to other countries. China's saying, "Come on in."
Yeah, exactly.
We will absolutely. We'll take all those brains and right.
Well, a lot of the scientists and entrepreneurs and medical they come here to learn and they stay here and they really.
And we want them to stay here.
Yeah.
Quick fact, we are the 4th highest state in the United States in terms of international students that we educate here. 82,000 international students come to Massachusetts to, and these are the best and the brightest. We want the best and the brightest, no matter where they come from.
Exactly.
We need good doctors. We need, we're a premier medical state. We want to hold that designation. We're the best education state in the nation.
Yeah.
We want to hold that as well.
Well, Senator Lovely, thank you. On that note, we'll end the program. I would like to remind our viewers that you've been watching the Beacon Hill Report with State Senator Joan Lovely. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and we'll see you next time.